Hey guys, welcome to the Retro Dungeon. That's what I call my basement down here. This is where I have all my retro computers. It's also where I work from. Uh, I'm an electronics technician professionally. I've been doing it for about 15 years, and I work from home for the last maybe 10 years. Um, anyway, the purpose of this video is I want to show you guys. This is the new Unico 26-inch 4.3 LCD monitor, and this is the arcade. My daughter and I built this together over the summer. We didn't build the housing. I bought it from a local lady, and the housing was in really good shape, but the CRT that it came with was burned in, and it was missing some of its electronics. Well, for instance, it was missing its security key, so we couldn't have played it anyway. I kept all the parts anyway, but I turned it into a a RetroPie arcade. We thought it would be a fun project for over the summer. So all we really had to do is I replaced the control panel. We made a new one out of particle board, melamine laminated particle board. And then I had a TV that I replaced the original CRT with, and I had written a little Arduino program. It was working good, but then the flyback failed. I replaced the flyback, and then I started having an issue where it would just intermittently pop up and say unusable signal while we were playing, and it was getting annoying. And then I learned about this LCD. And basically, I thought, hey, that'd be perfect. Get one of those. So I ordered one. I had to wait a little bit. They were, I think this would have been like the second batch, maybe the third. But when I ordered mine, they said that they were in customs. So it took it like, I don't know, 2 weeks to get in after I ordered it. But it came pretty quick and, well packaged and everything. But I just wanted to show you guys the method I came up with for mounting this thing in the arcade, because they didn't, it says on their website that it's got these brackets that make it easy to mount in several systems, and I mean it wasn't too bad, but like the little mounting brackets that they made them like, it's like a half an inch wide. It's just too small. If they'd have made them twice as wide, it would have made everything a lot easier. And then also, these were made for arcades and for amusement displays. I mean, whatever that is, I don't know, probably slot machines, I guess. But I don't know why they didn't have it. They should have made a bracket or at least an adapter where you could mount it into an old frame. I mean, that's what a lot of people that are putting this into an arcade are going to have. But yeah, this is just a a normal RetroPie system. Right now it's not completely hooked up because I've been messing with the LCD, getting it all set up and everything, but it did work. There's your Raspberry Pi in its case, and then a USB hub and little amplifier. I didn't have an amp before. I had it hooked up to the TV, but obviously with this LCD display, you need an amp to use with HDMI, so I got that all hooked up. But let me take this apart, and then I'll come back and show you how I built this, the stuff I had to build to make it fit the way I wanted it to. Just as a note, I guess, you can see this is almost flush. Before it's set back 3 inches, but I wanted to bring it forward. So when I make the bezel, and I have the plastic to make the bezel, I have the original bezel too, but it just won't work. It's got curves built into it that won't work with an LCD. But I didn't want to worry about having to vacuum form or heat form the ABS plastic. So I brought this out so I can make a bezel that's flat to go around this, and then the glass will go over that. But all right, let me pull this apart and then I'll show you what I got going on here. All right, so here's the main piece of it. These holes here, I mean, you saw it when it was up there at the beginning. These mount to the arcade housing in the original place that the CRT's frame had mounted. So you move this spacer that I made out of the way, and here's the original setup, and this is where the holes from the CRT's frame bolted in. And in the same up top, it's back here. This is one of the spacers that I made to move the LCD out further. I mean, here's the spacer, but you set it in, and then this one, it just sets in here. I don't need it to be held still or bolted in or screwed in, I guess, because the bolts will do that. The only reason I had to screw the top piece in was to make it easier to put the LCD in, because otherwise I would have had to have two people, one person to hold up the spacer while I put the bolts through the front. And I wanted to be able to do it all by myself, so I mounted it in there like that. And I just did some countersunk holes and put like 1.5 inch long Phillips head screw and screwed it into the original frame part that the CRT mounted to. So since they put those tiny brackets on there, you have to make this pretty precise. If you cut it too wide here, then you're not going to be able to screw it in. You got nothing left as far as the gap here on either side. And then if you make it too narrow, it obviously won't fit. It hits the LCD frame. So, I cut it, and then I had to like sand it and trim it down, etc., until I got it perfect. And then also I was worried about using wood to begin with, because I was kind of concerned that screwing, using a wood screw here, even if I pre-drilled it, it could fracture this tiny little piece that's left over once you cut the hole for the LCD. So what I decided to do, instead of using wood screws, and turn it around, is I got T-nuts to put in the back. And then, that way I could drill a hole for the T-nut to go through and then hammer them into place. And then I can screw a machine screw to hold the LCD in. I don't have to worry about it wearing out the wood if I got to take it in and out, whatever. It's not going to wear out, strip the wood out or any of that. It's going to be solid. And I don't know, it seemed to be the easiest way to do it. That was also the most functional. So I used the T-nuts. I just got them at the hardware store. And then since this is pretty thin up top here, at the corners, I went ahead and threw corner braces on, all four sides. And then also, for whatever reason, the company that made the LCD decided to put the screws that hold the LCD into the frame. They used regular panhead screws instead of using like a flush mounted countersunk flathead screw. So I had to put these notches all the way around, 2 on the sides. You got here, here, and then 1 on the top and bottom. I'll show you real quick just what that looks like. I mean, they used these regular panhead screws instead of countersinking that and make it sitting flat. But nonetheless, so you put those I put the little notches in just to clear the screws. And then up here, this is a handle. Well, not a handle, but it's just a little gap to get your fingers in. Again, so it can be a one-person kind of job when you're putting it in and taking it out. That just slides in there like that. But you see up top, if the LCD were in here, you'd have nowhere to grab it. It made it hard to get out. So I put this in just so you could get your fingers in there and tilt it forward to pull it out. And then the last thing I had to deal with as far as this piece goes is this edge right here. I routed this out, just not any kind of precise measurement. I just kind of eyeballed it and got it close. And then I routed out that little edge to make it thinner. And the reason why is when you have the spacer on there, there's this little lip right here. This is raised, and this is what the glass and the bezel sit in. Well, with the spacers in, it brings that so far forward that it actually will sit over top of this. And without that notch, it won't fit. It'll be up on top of this, and it can't go down. So I put that little routed edge in there, and that allows it to sit back here, but sit over top of this piece. And that allows it to sit almost flush, very close to flush. Like the only gap that is there is just for the bezel, the plastic bezel, and then the glass panel that goes over top of that. But the way it worked out, just in my case anyway, just kind of a lucky deal. To get it to sit flush like I wanted it to, so I didn't have to mess with molding the plastic, I could just leave it flat. All I had to do was take four 3/4 inch pieces of plywood and glue them together, and it just so happened that it needed to be moved with a 3/4 inch piece of wood as the frame, which is, this is 3/4 as well. It set it with that gap, or with that spacer, the 4 pieces of plywood for a spacer, and then the original spacer that came with the arcade, and then the frame here. It just worked out on this particular arcade to move it right up against the front flush, basically. And then same at the top. It's just 4 3/4 inch pieces. They're not the same size. These ones, I think this was 1 7/8 tall, and then I think this was 1 3/8 maybe. The one on the top is shorter, and then yeah, it just slides. The LCD just slides into this frame, and then you bolt it in up there, and you know, it came out really nice. It got the gap really good and everything. Didn't take too long to do. You know, I painted it because I wanted it to look nice and all that, but it's very repeatable, and especially with the T-nuts, it makes it pretty strong. And you know, I've only made this for my unit, my Target Terror Gold housing, but you could modify this specific or particular frame to fit basically any of these, I would imagine. But yeah, just a quick video, show you how that, you know, how it looked, how it worked, and what I was trying to achieve there, in case anybody else, you know, is looking for ideas on how to make this thing mount in there, because, you know, they made it seem like it was going to be a very simple thing, and, you know, maybe it is on certain arcades, but on this one, it wasn't just a drop-in type of thing. There was a lot more to consider there. But all right, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or any of that, just you know, leave a comment. Bye.